So we've covered the first 6 years of Etsy. We're gonna go through the next 3 now. All right, we're gonna speed it up a little bit. We're gonna take you through to the day. So between 2000 and 2012, we are really interested in making security a priority. It's not that we weren't concerned with security, but it wasn't enveloped into development and operations teams as much as it could have been. And we wanted to make sure that it was rolled in. It was just natural that development and operations and security all work together seamlessly. And as I said in the previous slide, we wanted to make sure that it didn't slow down that our deployment pipeline, it didn't slow down how we operated. We wanted to make sure the engineers knew that they could work. We trust our engineers to do the work that they need to do. But of course, we're going to verify. We're going to make sure that, we run our own pen tests. We do some vulnerability assessments to make sure that somebody isn't allowing bash scripts to be executed from PHP pages. And the security team is embedded with all these other teams as well to understand what's coming down the pipeline. The idea is that, and this is from Nick Galbraith as well, he says, you're only a blocker if you're the last one to know. And do we have any folks that work security in the room? You ever felt that way? You feel like you're the last to know?
Try not to be.
But you kind of stink, you're like, oh, here we go. I'm trying to do this thing again. I got to come in and make it secure. It can be difficult when you are on the fringe. And it's not uncommon for security teams to be on the fringe, partly because people perceive them as the folks who say no. We didn't want our team, our security team, to be perceived as folks who say no. Sometimes they have to, right? Sometimes there's going to be a code push that does open up an unwanted vulnerability. And we have a conversation about it, and we find ways to work around it. So it's never just not no. This is a terrible idea. Here's a better way to do it, right? And it is a key factor, key goal of making it happen is security people are people too, right? They're human. We want them to be part of this organization. So we had a lot of growth in 2012. We hired about 75 engineers and about 150 people in total at Etsy. And we had some major changes around the website. We started focusing a lot on internationalization because we started seeing more and more of the world represented in the transactions on the website. And we said, you know what? We need to really release some tools and some products that really help our community. We started releasing really high impact tools such as shipping labels. So imagine you are making something, anything. Someone makes something up. Anybody? What's that? Chairs? Yeah. Okay, that's great because chairs are time consuming. Imagine you're making chairs, you're only one person, right? And you get to be really good at it, and people really love your product, and you're getting hammered with orders, and you're trying your best to keep up with demand, but you gotta go down to the post office. Wrap this thing up, slap a label on it, send it out. Wouldn't it be better if you could just put the label in your home, slap it on the chair, and call a mailman up? Say, got another rocket for you, and he or she comes and picks it up and takes it away from you. You're spending a lot more time on your craft and less time on administrative work. That's where shipping labels came in. Of course, gift cards. I love gift cards, right? For the brother who you haven't talked to in 3 years. Like, what's he like? I don't know. It's never happened to me. Then we became a certified benefit corporation. A quick note on a B Corp or benefit corporation. The idea is that even though you're a business and you're making money, being a for-profit organization doesn't have to be evil. Right? You can do good things, right? You pay your staff well, you give them benefits, and you can also do work in your local communities. You can do work in communities anywhere in the world. Again, it comes back to being there for a community, some community. So what we wanted to do is when we're already developing and improving these craft communities by bringing people together, we can do even more. So we have this thing called Eatsy. Every Tuesday and Thursday in the office, everyone gets together. We eat on compostable paper plates. Our silverware is metal, so we can wash them. But we tear those up, and there's a farm about 2-3 miles away from the office. We take that compost and we use that to grow vegetables. And we use those vegetables to then feed we supply, I think we use it to supply local food shelters. I might have made that up. I think that's what we're doing. We weigh how much waste, how much trash we throw out. We even count the number of flushes. Right? Not every individual flush. We have a big tank. We know how much water we're using. Because that would be kind of creepy. You know, there goes that guy again. And this has a major impact on engineering, because now we're starting to look at a macro level. When we're talking to our co-location providers, we want to know where they're sourcing their energy. We want to know if there's a way that we could incorporate alternative sources of energy into what we're using. In fact, we have a co-location provider out on the West Coast that backs up to a trout stream. And this place is so green. There's probably bears back there and trout. And it has little impact on the environment. And we look for things like that because we want to improve. Just because we're running, and we have a Hadoop cluster, by the way, which sucks up a lot of energy. We try to find ways to offset that if we can. The idea is that we want to get really, really serious about these problems, these social problems, environmental problems, and do something about it. Sometimes it costs us a little bit more money, but we're leaders in that space because we know that if somebody starts to do it, more people start to do it, costs come down, things start to change, technologies get a lot more efficient, and in the end, it's going to benefit everybody. And this is not necessarily a technical thing, right? There's nothing that the engineers necessarily have to do, but it is cultural. It is a part of Etsy. And so we've gone from just 4, 30, 100 people that are just really focusing in sort of about the things they're doing, maybe helping this craft community to expanding. It's not just about Etsy anymore. It's about our impact as we grow. It's about our impact on the rest of the world. So in 2012, we had some significant achievements. One of these, at least might be interesting to folks in this space, is we implemented a completely separate payments environment so that we could maintain PCI compliance. And this was important because PCI comes with a lot of regulations, right? And we didn't want, just like we're talking about security not slowing down, we didn't want PCI auditing to slow down, or PCI regulations slowing down our work. So we said we can create this enclave. We can make that auditable. It's also smaller, and again, smaller things mean you can reason about them better. It's a lot easier to audit. There's a lot less interactions between the various systems. We just have a simple API that the web stack talks to in the PCI environment. That's where all of our the credit card information is stored. We generate a token, send it back to the production stack, Bob's your uncle, or something like that. And one point I want to make about any sort of regulation, whether it's PCI, it's HIPAA, NIST regulations, whatever they are. NIST, right? It always sounds like a fruity drink to me. Regulation governs process. It does not have to govern productivity. There are ways to work within the confines of regulation. I don't mean work around them and find creative ways to subvert them. I mean, you can find a way to make it happen. We also implemented a Hadoop cluster, as I mentioned a moment ago. This is pretty big because we're doing a lot more data science. We're collecting all the information we've got, all the telemetry we have on user behavior, understanding the impact of feature releases and changes and decommissioning features on conversion rates, on login rates, not login rates, at least conversion rates. And we used to do data science on nodes and spin up in AWS. Really expensive. We found a lot more cost effective to spin up our own Hadoop cluster, even with as much power as it uses. And this is a big risk, but we ended up spending a lot less money on our own infrastructure, like millions of dollars less by doing that. And we had full-time data scientists that could take advantage of that. Takeaways for that year, we're looking at the long term now. It's not just about us. It's about who we're interacting with. It's about the larger world. We're not just here to keep things running. We're not just here to fight fires. We want to have an impact on every community if we possibly can. We got a lot more people working with us now, so we can take some more chances, such as implementing Hadoop in our infrastructure. Becoming a benefit corporation means we can focus on our impact on the larger world. And of course, we open source a lot more tools. We just keep going. right? We've made improvements to the tools we released, we open source all the things at this point. Nearly $1 billion made by our sellers, and that's pretty significant. That's really exciting. 2013 comes around, and we had a lot of our hard problems solved. What now? Where do we go? And so we recognize it's time to look inside, figure out where we can make some improvements, where we can build in some efficiencies. And we recognize that there is no single engineer now that does the entire stack. It's impossible. It's grown so large. We need our engineers to have visibility into the growth of the stack and all the interactions behind all the constituent parts. So we started working on internal tooling. We started a designated ops program. This is just a number of tools that we've written. Some of them we've even open sourced. One of my favorites, my two favorites in this list right now are at the top. Morgue, which is used to capture post-mortem events. So when you're having these blameless post-mortems, we're all going to have blameless post-mortems starting tomorrow. You can download Morgue from Etsy's GitHub page. It's a nice tool that allows you to capture the timeline of an event. If you're using IRC for all of your communications, or even any of your communications, Morgue will allow you to pull in the IRC communications from one or more channels, so you can get additional context around what's happening. You can tell Morgue, attach these images of rats, images of cats, whatever is relevant to what's happening in that post-mortem event. And we use that tool not only to review what's happened in an outage, we use that tool to then, we review that in our post-mortems, we use that to define remediation items, so that we can try to mitigate the issue from recurring. And I was talking to Alan today, when you get to this point when you're having these blameless post-mortems, the best thing that can happen to you is when you're having a blameless post-mortem, the thing that broke a week ago breaks again while you're having a blameless post-mortem, and you get to write that in a little entry. Whole team paused, trying to solve this problem again. Ops Weekly is near and dear to my heart. How are we doing? I'm kind of slow on time right now.
5 minutes.
I could probably go to the 20.
5
5
minutes.
minutes? Okay.
You can continue to talk this thing.
Okay, I could. I like to tell stories. Watch out. I'll just gloss over the rest here, but Ops Weekly is a wonderful tool that allows us to categorize non-use alerts. So whether it's alert volume, alert frequency, type of alerts, whatever it may be, we recognize that our engineers are being woken up needlessly for things, or there were recurring problems that we couldn't quite pin down, because at the end of the week when you're giving your on-call report, you're probably really tired, and you're going to leave out a few things. Ops Weekly does all that work for you. It'll let you know how many things will go up in the middle of the night. In fact, we're doing some really awesome work with job load ups. We know how long our engineers are awake. If you want to submit your data, some people think it's kind of creepy. The operations team is a very tight-knit group of people. And we know just how much of an impact being on call has on your sleep. Designated Ops is also really killer here because, again, no engineer can know everything that's happening. We send operations engineers out to the other teams. Right? They act as liaisons. And what they're doing is gathering information and bring back to the ops team and say, hey, here's what's happening on these feature fronts. It's useful to help us understand how to capacity plan. On the flip side, we're advocating for engineers. Hey, they have this thing that's coming up, and they need some help making this new feature operational. All right, so we attend their meetings, and we help them prepare to launch their features. And as a result, we have these really tight relationships with folks on various engineering teams. Final takeaways for 2013. We've got all sorts of data that's available to anyone. You can't know everything, but we're going to give you all the tools you can go look for it. Designated Ops is a major win, and as a result, we've got a lot more transparency amongst the entire engineering group. The notion that we trust you is still strong. And by the way, mobile's coming. We crossed the 1 billion threshold, which is pretty awesome. So today, in 3 minutes, everyone pushes on their first day now. It used to be just an engineering team, your first aid push. Now anybody who wants to, non-engineers and engineers alike. The receptionist says, I would like to understand what a stack is. Have a seat. We're going to spend a day with you, and we're going to help you understand what all this technical jargon is, and you're going to push your face to the About page, and you're gonna do it with us sitting next to you, but you're gonna do it all yourself. You're gonna push the entire site. And that's pretty amazing because folks that are so focused maybe on something that wasn't technical now have a broader understanding of what this tech company does. Yearly planning is a restructure. I mention this because it becomes a lot more open, and just like your culture is always evolving, planning is always evolving. So I mentioned that here because it had a cultural impact on us, because now a lot more people are involved in the planning process. Now a lot more people know what goes into deciding when a project is given a green light or not. We opened an office in San Francisco, it's pretty cool, and we acquire a French company called A Little Market. Real briefly, it's kind of difficult deciding which programming language to use when you're dealing with spoken language issues. I say that kind of flippantly, but because that wasn't necessarily an issue, but at least to highlight that merging companies in general can be dicey. But when you have cultural differences, time zone differences, it can be a really big challenge. But while you don't want to underestimate that, it can be a very, very successful. It can be done successfully, and we're still doing that because it takes some time. But when you do it, when you blend these cultures, you're the better for it. It's totally worth it. They're in Paris, by the way. I can't wait to go to the office. We migrated from Splunk to the Stack, Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana. That was a lot of fun, primarily because, actually, I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm going to gloss over it. I'm going, damn. All right. Mobile first and API first are some major efforts because we recognize that starting in 2014, minimum, the amount of traffic coming from mobile devices is represented as 50% of our traffic. It's here, right? So we make some big pushes there. We want to keep maintaining the quality of life for our engineers, so we do some on-call sleep tracking. Anyone care about elk? I'll skip this one. You do? Okay. We can talk more about it later. But two interesting things. You're going to make a significant change to your infrastructure. You better communicate the hell out of it. Because you need to talk to people, tell them what's coming down the pike, solicit feedback, understand how they use things. Because it's going to creep into your infrastructure in some way, shape, or form you didn't intend. For example, people were using Splunk alerts rather than writing Nagios alerts. And if we had just shut off Splunk, a whole bunch of telemetry would have been lost. That would have been scary. All right, talk to people about it. Mobile first is a big deal. Because we're short on time, I'm just going to gloss over these things. But continuous deployment is now continuous delivery. We gate things with feature flags, just like the web stack, but we're using the API to do that, which is kind of neat. This slide, what I want to highlight is what I've said previously. We want to ship small units. So you can ship faster, you can reason about them better, especially when they fail, because they will fail. All right, hopefully not a whole lot, but failure is really inevitable in complex systems. So instead of a single release where you're pushing, say, 50,000 lines of code, which is very complex, you don't even know where all the bugs are hiding, you're pushing much, much smaller deploy. And as a result, if it breaks, it's a lot less severe. One of my favorite conversations, which I'll also probably been here about, is sleep tracking here. We're using Jawbone Up's Fitbits in a couple of cases. We can analyze how much sleep you've lost. And we graph all this. We put this in our reports. If you're willing to submit the data, we've even had sleep scientists in to talk to us about sleep. And it's amazing, the stuff we learn. That's part of the presentation here in and of itself. May come back. Okay. Fantastic. Finally, at the end of 2014, major growth, a merger and acquisition. And this has a potential to impact your culture because you're growing. There's so many new people, right? And you're bringing in people from an entirely new organization and trying to roll them in. I'm going to touch on a second, sorry. So you got me flustered. We made a lot of tooling changes. We made sure that we communicated those as effective as was good, got a lot of buy-in there. Mobile is a big deal. So action items for 2015. Because we are growing, we cannot let culture slip. You've got to be vigilant about this. Everybody needs to, because we all contribute to the culture of our organization. Just because you're growing, just because you're so focused on a project doesn't mean that you can lose sight of maintaining that culture. We want to make sure mobile, did I get that through? And this is really important. When we have new hires come in, we are communicating them, we are telling them, we're sitting them down, whether informally or through larger sessions, we're teaching them about Etsy. Just like I'm up here in front of you right now, this is the oral history of Etsy, right? I mean, imagine sitting around a campfire and you're learning stories about your mom and dad and all the crazy things they used to do before they had you. Like, that's part of your culture. That is your oral history. It's the same thing. So that's why I'm out here today. And I'm not the only one at Etsy doing this. You should do the same thing too. Get out there and tell your coworkers, new hires, what it was like before you got here and where we're going. They need to hear that. They need to know that. They'll feel like they're part of it, and then your culture will grow and it will be sustained. One way we do this for new hires is we built this. We have one of my colleagues built this as a hack week project, just highlighted all these major accomplishments we had since the beginning of Etsy. That's really cool. At a glance, you can see we had this tech, we worked it out. We put new tech in, we made these significant changes in the deploy pipeline, and you can read that at your leisure. You can't because we have to go. And in conclusion, like it says right there, culture does not come for free. You've got to be vigilant about maintaining it. You keep making changes, just like you're planning changes, right? You have to account for growth. You have to account for changes in the market landscape. And when things like growth or security tries to wedge its way in there, it's a good thing. Fold it in. Never stop pushing, no matter what it is. Right? A couple references. I'll put these slides up here. I'll put them online on the interwebs for y'all to look at. And any questions, we're going to have to wait till we get up to the hall. But I'd like to thank all of you for coming and listening to me a little bit.